So today is actually the day before the full moon. Not mistaken, it's April 12th, 2025 is when I'm recording this message will be time. I don't have a prompt or script or anything to go by. I am just going to be channeling. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear your response. If it doesn't, I'm curious. But I went to see a movie called The Amateur, and movies and dreams have always been a way I gather information from the Akashic field because I can feel into the characters, I can feel into the creation of the movie, I can feel into the research done for the movie, I can feel into the real life events that went into creating the movie, and I can also feel the connection to the shadow of collective. And I want to talk about balancing the scales in a way that hasn't been talked about before. A lot of us think that balancing the scales is some form of harmony, but balancing the scales doesn't begin as a form of harmony. It begins as a form of chaos. And when I say chaos, I mean it begins as a form of something that's very different from what it previously was. So a lot of us want transformations in our life, but we're desiring to go from transformation to peace and harmony. And it's not going to be a step that you can take into transformation without some form of chaos. For those of us who are afraid of upsetting people, I'm going to tell you what's in our past life and the reason for that. The reason that we're afraid of upsetting people isn't just because a lot of us grew up in homes where there were things that were occurring that created post-traumatic stress disorder, adverse childhood experiences, epigenetics of other people's trauma. A lot of these things are the reason in this lifetime that we're the way we are. But I want to talk about something beyond time and space in the here and now. The reason that we have this fear of upsetting people is not just because in childhood it led to some form of feeling unsafe, but oftentimes in a past life, we had an experience as warriors where we were not trained to think about whether or not what we were going to be doing and how it was going to upset people. Most of us in Gen X, this is information that I'm downloading right now from the Akashic field, most of us from Gen X who was born with Pluto and Libra, meaning in this lifetime, our focus was going to be balancing the scales. That means in a past life, we were not focused on peace and harmony. We were not focused on healthy relationships. More than likely, we were soldiers, we were warriors, we were knights, we were assassins, we were on the fringe of society, maybe even hired. A lot of us were hired by religious, monotheistic religious factions, hired to be those who handle the war. And we know that religion has been fueled by war. That's nothing that's a surprise to us. So if in this lifetime you started to awaken to the dangers of religion in the present, is because you were a big participant in the past life of a lot of the things that religion was behind that led to bloodshed and many other atrocities, not even including words that I can't use on this platform without getting flagged. So we came into this lifetime with a soul contract with the agreement that we would be focused on harmony, balance, and relationships. Now, in order for us to do that, we must experience something that is the complete opposite of harmony and balance in relationships. And I can guarantee you, anybody that resonates with my content will say, and it doesn't matter what type of parents you had, what type of caregivers that raised you, there was some element of that where you did not feel safe, and it was some element of that that felt chaotic. That was the balancing of scales. As unfair as it may seem for a child to have adverse childhood traumatic experiences, that was the scales being balanced. It was due to those experiences that a catalyst inside of us was activated for us to go on this journey of personal development, self mastery, self deification, self realization, which means right now we are dying to who we thought we were. This is why I use the term I divinity. Your identity is the complete opposite of your identity. Identity is the dented, wounded version of us we had to be to get through life. Your identity is who you are in the core of your soul. That is your essence without the conditioning and the programming. So collectively, Gen X marks the spot. We were the ones that took that on. Now, when Twitter got named X, and there were other things that kept happening that was confirmation of this, I knew that I was going to be shifting in the way that I create my content and the service that I offer to the collective. And it gave more validation to a lot of things that I have not publicly shared. And that's a lot. Because when you are connected to the Akashic field, you have the capacity to download so much data. I would need a team of people to help me get it all out there. And I don't have that right now. It's just me. So I'm sharing this in the form of this channel message on this live. Now I want to say to you, you must start to plan for your life. If you don't want to repeat the mistakes of your own parents, caregivers, whether you were in foster care or not, if you don't want to repeat those mistakes, you must start to plan. When you leave religion, you don't have that security blanket anymore of I'll just pray and everything will get better. You don't have a scapegoat anymore to expect to make things better because he shed his blood. Monotheistic religion is based on shedding blood. It's based on death. It's based around crucifixion. Jesus was the only son, and he was crucified while his father watched the crucifixion happening for people that even his own father regretted for creating, which is why he caused the flood in the first place. Do you see how psychotic and how wicked this story sounds? But it exists in our reality because some evils are a necessity to balance the scales. Had it not been for me being so committed to monotheistic religion for most of my life, I would have never stepped out into the public to teach people the truth. I live in the Bible Belt. I'm not supported. People don't like this. People who said they love me stopped messing with me because my message no longer aligned with their philosophy of life that was given to them, and they don't even know who's behind it. They don't even know that war and bloodshed is what fueled it. And I went forward with this message by myself. I had to take that on. I had to have courage. I had to have enough faith in my own self. Nothing outside of me was going to save me, change me, or help me. And I have been so blessed to have lacked support most of my life. So what we experienced in childhood was the karma debt being cleared for the past life. When we were on the other side, when we were the ones taking lives, when we were the ones sitting at the boards deciding what countries would die and what countries wouldn't. See, a lot of people don't want to face the Old Testament. And not just the old, because it was shit that happened in the New Testament too that's in alignment. But a lot of people don't want to face that. So when you start to step out of the 3D matrix constructs of instructions we have been given to live life by, you must have a plan. The devil you thought was outside of you is you. The God you thought was outside of you is you. The Christ that you thought was outside of you is you. You're all of it. You're everything. You're not one thing. And a lot of us stepped outside of that, but we did not know how to be prepared to live in the world as a sovereign being. And as more of these systems collapse, if you could let her know what I'm doing before you get in, as more of these systems collapse, we're going to continue to see how we're being called to step outside of what we were taught to believe was acceptable. This is divine retribution. Your sovereignty is not something that someone else is going to be able to give to you. It's something that only you can create for yourself, and it is hard. So let me tell you what I mean about having a plan. Because we don't operate by those instructions anymore, you must have a plan for how you're going to deal with the people that you care for when they pass away. Do you have a plan? Do you have steps in place? Do you have a support system or community in place? Do you have values, beliefs, philosophies, rituals? Rituals is just something that you do often, on repeat. Do you have something in place to support you? Do you know how to grieve? Have you decided how you're going to grieve? If you don't have these things, you aren't prepared. Can you prepare and predict how everything is going to affect you? No. But a lot of us are so focused on our 401k, focused on now the new focus is sovereignty, right? Figuring out your indigenous and getting your sovereign papers and straw man. And so much of the focus has shifted into the financial market and having trust in these states and learning all of these loopholes and this lingo and the Black's Law Dictionary. All of those things are great and are needed, but there are certain tribes on this planet who are called to do specific things, and that's just not my calling right now, to help you navigate the financial aspect of this life. My calling is to help people navigate the shadow aspects of this life that oftentimes we spend every minute of the day trying to avoid dealing with. It's not healthy. Avoidance is not healthy, but it's what we use to cope. So have a plan. Start creating a plan, not only for death of people that you care for, but create a plan for yourself. What happens when all systems collapse and crash? Are you prepared for that? As far as your health is concerned, are you taking care of your health? Do you have at least a few herbs at your house to use in case we can't get out and get anything? What are you going to do if you end up in a situation where somebody's life is taken in a very unfair way? Who are you going to be? How are you going to deal with that? Because if using coping mechanisms is the only thing that you have, and most of us, that's all that we ever had because it's the only thing that was modeled to us, you're not going to do well in this new world. The new world is already here. The bifurcations of two earth has already happened. It's no coincidence that those of us who are called to be oracles, and I can only speak for myself, but I'm hidden in a really strange way. Anything I have ever taught or shared publicly has been proven over and over again, not by me, not only by me, but by the thousands and thousands of people who have followed me for many years. I've been doing this since 2006. Next year, it'll be 20 years that I have been sharing and channeling, even as a Christian, even as a Hebrew Israelite, even when I was studying Islam, when I was studying to be a Buddhist. All of these things that I went through, and I shared from that space that I was in. But there's one thing that is common. I have not been inaccurate in my assessments, in my messages, in my information. I want you to start thinking about this. Who are you going to be? The reason a lot of us don't have a strong sense of self, those of us who are not quite sure who we are, we got into careers based on what other people expected of us and other people's standards, or what we were afraid of. If we were afraid of poverty, maybe we chose a career to make sure we made good money, but it took something away from our soul and it's no longer fulfilling to us. Some of us got into relationships based on our wounds, and it's no longer fulfilling to us. Because when you start to do the work to heal yourself, when you create plans, routines, rituals, ceremonies, and you actually dedicate yourself to them and do them, you're going to shake things up. And illusions are going to fall away. On the new earth, if you are not using your third eye on the daily, you are a blind man, woman walking. The two eyes have been under a spell of illusion, with the inability to not only see what's really happening, but to see our true self. It is only with the first eye, the third eye, that you truly have enough light to illuminate the shadows that we are going through right now. Not only do we hold karma, but we're the microcosm of the macrocosm. So our karma on a collective level is also contained in data systems that we call planets, the celestials, the asteroids. Chiron is a great example. It holds the wounds of all warriors from all lifetimes. So astrology is actually the foundation of all religion. It's a form of astrotheology, and it's either centered around the lunar cycles or the solar cycles or the Saturn cycle. See, this is something that a lot of us were forbidden from knowing, but because we have access to information now, we're being held more accountable to live and move different. So if you are still angry at your parents, if you are still hurt by things people did to you, there's no shame in that. But you really want to focus on healing that, because that's going to be screaming at you every single day. And however you cope, it is no longer going to work for you. We have been so disconnected from our true self. Many of us are starving for love. Many of us are lonely. Many of us are in relationships and lonely. Many of us may have big families and still feel lonely. And it's hard to figure out what it is, what's going on, why do I feel this way? And not only that, but many of us who have children, our children inherited a lot of these wounds, and they call it neurodivergence. And it is a form of neurodivergence, but it's also something that's meant to help us. See, as children, we were meant to help our parents by mirroring to them the shadows within themselves. But back then, there was not as much information that was readily available as it is now. So there was a level of grace that was applied to our parents and grandparents and so forth. And we no longer have that. The more technology increases, the more the collective accountability increases for us to do something different. That a lot of us feel shame. You know that you feel shame because the pain of being accused of doing something is almost unbearable. And if I'm speaking to you, that's a deep shame wound inside of you, where you can't bear to be blamed for anything. And sometimes what we're being blamed for is actually something that we're really doing, but you can't connect with it. It doesn't resonate with you. You can't be accountable for it because it's something that you pushed away into the shadows. So the false version of you doesn't like for anything to threaten seeing yourself that way. And a lot of us have a preference to be seen as right. We have an addiction to be seen as right at all times. We must be seen as right because the threat of being seen as wrong has been conditioned and programmed inside of us to mean dangerous, to mean being wrong is some form of punishment that's going to happen to you. That's the 3D matrix old earth program. On the new earth, those of us that will thrive are those who are not afraid of being seen as wrong. This was a really deep fear for me, and it's something that I am still working through. But creating a platform and speaking truths that are usually hidden from people, from the masses. Oftentimes, the information that you get from me only exists in a very small elite group of people, but I make this readily available to whoever is ready to receive it. And that takes courage because everybody is not going to vibe with that. Anytime you are destroying somebody's system of comfort, people will come for you. People will cut you off. People will treat you bad. People will not be there for you anymore just because your philosophy of life, your perspective isn't aligned with theirs. And that is old earth as well. And that's how we were kept in control. This is how we were oppressed. We started to oppress each other. We didn't need a slave master anymore because we became the slave master. On the new earth, if you can bear to be seen as wrong, I had to accept the fact that some people see me as wrong, and I had to accept that, or I would not be able to live my purpose. Can you bear to be seen as wrong? How do you react when someone says something you did was hurtful or was wrong, wasn't the best decision to make? What does that bring up for you? See, you are the most important book you will ever read. And this is why you must study yourself every day. Self-awareness is the first step to self-realization. But how can you be aware of something that's too painful to be aware of? You need rules and regulations to abide by, to live by. A lot of us have been living by the world outside of us, and we shapeshift and emotionally contort ourselves to try to make the world outside of us feel safer and feel better. And when you do this on a law of attraction level, you attract a partner who's going to mirror that wound back to you that you have been disconnected from. This is not a bad thing. And I hear so many people now talking about relationships and even talking about decentering ourselves around men. And trust me, I get it. But the difference between my perception and a lot of what I'm saying is that I see the beauty in everything. And I do mean everything. Because the ability to be able to see purpose in pain is going to change the way you experience life. Life is not ever going to stop lifing. Everything and everyone that you love will die, will leave your life, no longer be with you. Every single thing. How are you preparing for that? Are you prepared for that? Or will you just rely on the coping mechanisms that were modeled before you? or your epigenetics? What are the coping mechanisms in your bloodline? Because that's usually the first thing we reach for when we feel anything that doesn't feel good to us. Going through a phase of seeing your shadows outside of you, that's a powerful experience. If you can accept it and say, you know what, I do have a hard time seeing myself as being wrong. But how can you desire improvement and actually reach improvement if you can't ever witness yourself being wrong? Like, I'm repeating myself because this is one of the hangups that humanity has been stuck in for too long. And we don't have time to be stuck in these things anymore because time is speeding up. Time is speeding up because technology and our own consciousness is causing time to quicken. And at the same time that this is happening, we have been so disconnected from who we really are that a lot of us suffer with inferiority complexes. There's this constant voice of inadequacy. Some people may have it a little less or a little more, but it is a part of the collective experience. The voice isn't the biggest issue. The issue is how you respond to that voice. Do you believe it? Do you allow it to put you in a mood that may not be best for you or the people around you? Do you get spiteful? Do you give and give and give and give and give, and you're not being responsible for how well you take care of yourself, only to resent the people that you've been giving to who have no idea that you're overgiving and overextending yourself and putting yourself in some type of pain to give to them? This is the shadow side of codependency. And for those of us who have certain astrological placements, this is even more so the case. With me having a Libra sun, codependency was bound to be a soul contract for me to experience. And I consider myself to be a codependent expert. I got a PhD and a master's degree in codependency. So I'm overqualified to speak on the things that I speak on. But I had to accept my own shadow self to be able to teach. I can't teach anybody anything if I'm disconnected from my own shadows. So hear me when I say this. And right now we're sitting under a full moon in Libra. Balancing the scales is not always harmony. Harmony is the after effect. But the beginning of balancing the scales is like being on a cruise ship and you're going through a store. You were selling pretty peacefully, and all of a sudden, something comes and disrupts the way that you had things going for you. Disruption is divine interference, but it is our perception, it is our self perception that creates suffering. It is our own imagination, our ruminations that create suffering. 444 Ashe. And I'm gonna tell y'all, a really crazy thing is, I have never been able to get past 13,000 subscribers on any platform, and have had to restart my profiles and my channels all over again. And I couldn't figure out why. And I was like, am I not effective? Is my information not accurate? Is it not actually helping people? But I know these things aren't the case. I know how accurate my information is. Nobody in this world could make me believe that I'm anything other than an oracle because of the life that I have lived and the things that I have survived and the pain that has created purpose in my life. And I have given that so freely to other people. But it's because I'm not in flow with the 3D matrix. So my rewards won't come from the 3D matrix. My rewards will not come from the material world. My sense of value, your sense of value is not meant to come from the material world. Your sense of value is not meant to come from the people you're in relationships with. Your children will not ever make you happy. Your partner will not ever make you happy. Your parents will not ever make you happy. Nothing outside of you is supposed to ever make you happy. Because if anything outside of you makes you happy, it disempowers you. And as soon as that thing is no longer showing up the way that you wanted to, you're going to hate yourself. And this is the hidden root cause of self-hatred. Maat is one of the goddesses that represents balance, and she has Anubis with her, and Anubis is a warrior, and this is the weighing of the heart. And right now, our hearts are being weighed, and a lot of us don't have hearts that are light as feathers. And if you look at ancient Kemet and the mythology and the lessons and the philosophies that is teaching you in any spiritual pantheon, in many indigenous cultures, this has been taught to us. But we don't understand alchemy. We've lost the ability to transmute energy. So we've been living in fight or flight. Our nervous system is screwed up. So we mistranslate so many things. There are things happening in your life where it seems like it's coming in your life to destroy you and it's coming in your life to recreate you, but you can't see it for what it is. So you can't feel gratitude because you're waiting on your life to do something for you that you got to do for yourself, because the universe don't want you relying on something outside of you to bring you peace, joy, and happiness. We're meant to learn how to generate that inside of us. We are fifth dimensional towers. We are multi-dimensional beings who fell down into a three-dimensional world, a world full of suffering, a world full of pain, a world full of grief that was not processed. We are the processors. But are you processing? Why have we been in a situation where we have had to survive food that we now know has been destroying us? Why? Why are you here in a time like this? Why didn't you come here when food was still food? If you're here right now, it's because you're meant to be an alchemist. We're meant to learn how to adapt. We're meant to learn how to evolve. We didn't choose this life to come here to have an easy life. We chose this life to have a beautiful life, but not easy. And that's a huge difference. Your quality of life is only connected to your perception and your daily routines that support that perception. A lot of us have left a trail behind us of destruction, and we have not made peace with that. How many hearts have we broken? How many families maybe have we broken? How many children have we broken? We've all made mistakes. So we all have a trail of something that we're probably not too proud of left behind us. But when you begin to accept your shadow self, when you integrate with that wounded part of you and you can accept accountability for what you have left behind you, it is only then that your life will start to change. But as long as you're pushing it away and saying, I don't want to see that, and anybody that try to show you your shadow self and you push it away and you get defensive and you get mad and you get reactive and you become mean and you become resentful and you become cold, as long as you are responding that way, the universe is going to mirror that back to you. Give the universe something to work with. If you don't like what's happening in your life or how people treat you, it's because somewhere you are not treating your own self with love. And I want you to take this message and start today. And I'm going to recommend that y'all go and see this movie, The Amateur, because I want y'all to practice using your intuition. I took my time, I took months and created a free ebook, not charging anything, on mastering and harnessing the power of the sixth sense. I did that because I knew this time was coming. Go and download that. Actually read it. Set a timer and say, I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes reading this, and decide to practice it. Use the tips I put in here. You don't have to buy my course if you don't want to. At this point, a lot of the tactics that are being taught to use to get people to buy your course, it don't resonate with me. It don't feel like integrity. It feels like everything is some type of manipulation and force to get people to do stuff. And so I don't create content all the time. I don't have emails being generated automatically. Like, it has to be in integrity for me, or I don't want to do it. If I'm not inspired, I don't want to put it out there. So I want you to have enough courage to look at yourself in a way you never have before. And only until you start to love the parts of you you don't like, your life will not become the life that you love. Make sure that you subscribe to this new channel. Help me reach 500 subs. I would love to hear your response to this. Share this with somebody else. But from this point forward, the messages that I share, they're going to continue to shake things up, because if nobody does this, we will have to reincarnate on a lower level than we did this lifetime, and possibly choose a family even tougher to survive than the previous one. And this is how we learn these lessons. So learn the lessons now. Break the cycles now, so that our children and grandchildren will at least have an opportunity to have experiences that reflect the work that we have done inside. It's not about what's happening outside. Everything begins on the inside.